Hey fam, it's Jay Lobos coming back to you on another episode, and I wanted to talk today about how do I increase my credit scores faster, which is something that obviously we have specific control over when we talk about credit cards. Eventually, what I've noticed, how I've been able to achieve over the 800s. Are you guys checking me out for the first time? Obviously, consider liking, subscribing, because I'm going to bring you guys valuable, fruitful information on finances and obviously credit, because I'll be specializing in credit repair. But nevertheless, the way that I was able to go ahead and get to the 800s, check me out on the Instagram, J Lobos channel on Instagram. I was able to take a little snapshot of one of the reports that was used when I purchased my vehicle, and I was really close to the 850s. As a matter of fact, I had like an 833 on my credit report, which with Equifax, obviously that's the one they used. And the way that I was able to achieve that score is by focusing on two areas. History plays a key role. And the reason why history plays a key role, first off, is 15% of your credit, because that literally will determine, or that gives the impression when you're talking to a creditor as to how long have you had credit, how long have you been managing it. So if it's something that you've had credit for 9, 10, 11 years, that's something phenomenal, especially if you have good credit scores over mid 700s, and now you've been having credit for 15 years. That holds a lot of weight. The second thing is obviously having high limits, or having a totality of high limits on your credit cards with really low balances. So what separates somebody from having good to excellent credit is eventually having nothing negative, try to have less than 6 to 8 inquiries, or as a matter of fact, 1 or 2 in the last 2 years, having a good blend of credit. That means an installment account. It could be a student loan. It could be a car loan. It could be a term loan, a credit cards, and also mortgages. Having a good blend of all that, and in conjunction with long history and high limits, 20, 30, 40, $100,000 in available lines of credits, you're going to separate yourself from the pack. You're going to go from good to excellent credit, no doubt. Obviously, I've been able to, through time, I've been able to acquire certain credit cards. One of the ones that I really liked, which obviously it's the Platinum, which is great, but you got to be careful because it has to make sense, guys. Not just because obviously we hear about the Black Card and all these other additional cards. First off, for these type of vehicles, you have to be welcomed into the product, which in a sense too, you might have to start off with something a little bit smaller. Obviously the Blue Card or whatnot. I love Discover 8. That's actually one of my favorites. I have a few out here. So going back to the topic, how to increase your credit scores, the way that I've been able to do it, or the way that I've been able to get high limits on my credit cards, is a consistent workflow, consistent attitude, obviously every 4 to 6 months, taking proactive steps, contacting my creditors. And I was actually hanging out with a friend of mine, and he's like, Justo, I've been wanting to get to the 800s. I've had good credit for a very long time. But I can't go up above the 730, 740 credit score. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong. I don't think I have anything wrong. And I'm like, well, let me offer you a free credit evaluation. Let me see exactly what's going on. Let me dissect what's going on with this report. I'm going to start from the top. I'm going to go all the way to the bottom. We're going to analyze every single line on the report. We're going to look at the personal information. We're going to look at the inquiries, the type of accounts that he has. We're going to visualize. We're going to see the balances. We're going to see the when the accounts were open. We're going to look into all that, because credit's a formula, guys, comprised of 5 different tiers. The biggest tier we know, it's obviously payment history. 30% of your credit is limits versus balances. 15% of your score is based on history. How long have you had credit for? 10% is based on mixture of credit, and the last 10% is based on new credit, which is obviously inquiries. So after analyzing his report, quick tip for you guys out there, do the same. Actually, if you go into buildworstrategies.com, there's a section where it says credit reports. And I actually have different types of credit monitorings that you could literally opt into. The one that I like to use, the one that I have here in front of me now, is Identity IQ. Very easy to read. Everything's on one page. Very neat, consumer friendly, suggested. And analyze the report. And a few things that I brought up to him, which obviously he's going to apply these suggestions, and he could technically increase an additional, I would say, 40 to about 50 more points, getting him really, really close to the 800s. I would say he's floating around the 730, 740. So another 50 points would do really, really good for him. And where we cut the points was at the following. He did take my advice a few months ago when he added himself as an authorized user on one of his wife's credit cards. $10,000 limit, no balance, beautiful. But now obviously he didn't follow up and look into the report, and the account was actually reporting on the highest score out of all three because the account was only reporting on that agency. So you got to keep in mind, if you're obviously getting somebody that is going to help you for you to boost your credit, and they're going to put you as an authorized user, you got to make sure you're telling the creditor the right things. Make sure that you tell them, listen, use my name, use my last name, my social, my date of birth, use my address all together, because I've done this many times before and it takes too long for it to update. Sometimes I got to wait 45 days, 60 days. Let them know I need for you to use all that information so that I'm ensuring that it's going to report on all three. And after that, you have to wait about 30 business days. Hopefully by then you will have a new report, and you pull it and you'll see, is the account reporting on all three or is it reporting only on one? Because that little detail could take away 20, 30, 40 points from you. You have to make sure. Another thing too, I'm asking him, when was the last time that you actually asked for a line increase in this $2,000 credit card? He's like, I have no idea. I don't think I've had an increase. And I'm like, dude, you should be asking for a line increase every 4 to 6 months. It's in your best interest. So imagine if the last few times that I've spoken to him, obviously he did take some of my advice, good for him, and he's been able to help himself. Nevertheless, he has nothing negative, which is beautiful. But how come even nothing negative doesn't get him to the 800s? So it's exactly what I told him. Every 4 to 6 months, start asking for a line increase. And another quick tip, guys, because a lot of people talk about, oh, let me go ahead and I need to have a recurring balance and a recurring balance. There's two types of payments or dates that you should be really aware of when it comes especially to credit cards. You have the billing date, which is the date that you have to make the payment, and you have the reporting date. Obviously, some of the accounts that he had balances, and he's bringing to my attention, Huta, I already paid that. I shouldn't have a balance on this account. But the reason that there's a balance is because he's making the payment after the creditor has already sent the balance to the bureau. See, you cannot know the reporting date, which is the date that the information is sent over to the bureaus, but you could know the billing date, and that billing date can be changed. You could always change your billing date. So as an example, if they report on the 10th, you want to make the payment prior, because you want exactly what you think it's going to reflect. If you paid it in full, you want to make sure that that balance is updated, and when the information is sent over to the bureaus, it reports the actual balance. And what you're going to actually do is you're going to work the system around itself. See, because some accounts, they come inverted. You won't know this though unless you contact the creditor. They're the only ones that are going to tell you, we report on the 15th. When is my billing date? No, your billing date is on the 20th. Okay, so you're going to be sending my balance prior to me making a payment. That means I'm always going to have a balance. So move your billing date up front, make the payment. It posts 2-3 days later, zero balance. Then the next day it reports over to the bureaus, and it's a cycle. The next day after the reporting date, you can max out that sucker because it doesn't matter anymore. Because guess what? Now they're reporting the actual balance. Super helpful. Another thing too, when it comes to obviously credit cards, people talk about, oh, the 30%. Yeah, I always talk about the magic numbers 30. But a lot of the times when I talk to clients that are interested in restoring their credit, they might not have the resources or the means to go ahead and pay the account all the way to zero. So with that said, I always tell them, let's reach for 30. 30 is the magic number. Obviously, that's a target that we're setting for each other. But if you really want to shine, you want the highest score possible before getting to that, before talking to the mortgage broker, before talking to the realtor, before going into the dealership, get the balances at zero. It's even better, you know? I hope those tips work, guys. Again, consider liking, subscribing, share this with your family and friends, people you love. Let's increase the scores out there. Thank you so much for the love and support. Mr. Absolutely on game, son. Thank you. Bye.